My name is Fredrick Kämpfe, and I work as the Director of Industry Affairs for the Swedish Aviation Industry Group, which is a branch organization organizing the aeropolitical work in Sweden and with our members, which are airports, operators, ground handling companies, catering companies, what have you. And in addition, I'm a private pilot since many years, since the 90s, and I fly at the flight club in Uppsala Flygklubb. I joined the Green Pilot movement the moment I saw it on LinkedIn, I believe it was. And the reason for me was obvious. In my daily profession, I work with the conditions for aviation every day. And one of those conditions is to become more sustainable. So it's in the interest of this fantastic industry to move in that direction as quickly as possible. But in addition, I am quite compassionate about the environment and the climate myself. And for my children and for coming generations, I believe that we have to quickly develop the new aviation industry into a new aviation era where we, our children, coming generations, can continue to visit this fantastic world and to connect with other people wherever they are. And with a combination of transport modes, aviation is and going to be a very important one to keep this earth together, I think. So I work with aviation and sustainability every day. I try to represent the industry, to give them a voice in political discussions, in decision-making processes, but also in the media, to show very clearly the direction that we are heading right now when it comes to sustainability. And we have a lot to be proud of, I think. We are developing the capabilities to fly with more sustainable aviation fuel. I'm also very proud to see that electrification of aviation is taking giant steps almost every month now. And in my association, the company Heart Aerospace, which is building maybe the first commuter aircraft of some size, of 19 seats, that will be on the market, a fully electric aircraft just in a few years from now. And in a historic perspective, this is extremely quick. And I'm very proud of the enormous ambition we have here. And in addition, we are, of course, looking forward to introducing later on hydrogen aviation. But that's not all. We also have to do other things. We have to shorten the flight routes that we are flying so that we can finally fly the straightest route and save enormous amounts of fuel. Mm-hmm. And we have to also make sure that the process is as efficient as possible on the ground, in the air, and around the airport. And we also have to connect the different transport modes so that we are sure that we can get the best type of transportation that suits our needs for that moment. And here I think we have a lot to do still. Yes, as a private pilot, absolutely, in many ways. I think we all, as kind of either professionals in the business or as hobby activists in the business, we have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to make sure that others do not suffer too much from our activities. So when I fly around my airfield, I try to fly as quietly as possible. I avoid flying over houses, neighborhoods. I try to consume as little fuel as possible. And I'm also proud to say that I'm in the board of the Uppsala Flying Association. And in that flying association, we have since a few years now the policy to compensate for the fuel that we use. And these are things that we all have to do because in many ways, the weakest chain or the slowest to change chain will maybe be the thing that we have to work with to make progress. So as a private pilot, there are many things. And I also believe that as a private pilot or as a private, let's say, activist in this sense, we have a responsibility also to communicate, to explain what we're doing. and to show people that the aviation business, just as any other business, we are actually moving in the same direction towards sustainability. Further and faster when it comes to aviation. Well, that's a good expression. We like to go fast and we like to fly further. What we have to do, I think, is to really focus on what's important here. And if we believe that aviation has such a crucial part for the world, for the local communities, for this, let's say, economy to properly function, we need to be quicker on delivering new technologies, new solutions. We should try to get the decision makers, the politicians, to also understand that the downside of not doing this is simply too big. We will not be able to replace all aviation with train services. We know that, but no one is really saying that. What we need to discuss is how we make sure that we have both good train connections and good aviation system in the future. Both have to be sustainable. I mean, that's just unthinkable if we do it in any other way. And here I think it's important to see what the industry can do. And I'm committed and very, very solidly believe that new technology, we have to speed up the development. We have to make sure that we communicate this very clearly, what we can actually achieve, and quickly implement the solutions that are coming in our way. So these are things that we can do ourselves on the local flight club or in the big airline or an airport. So we have to do a lot quite quickly, and I'm quite sure that we can. I think that maybe one of the problems that we have is that we are bad at actually showing the progress and communicate the messages. And here I myself try to communicate as much as I can to show in Sweden how quite well off we are. Also, how much work we have to do still. So we have to be honest, open, concrete, and show progress. Well, as a private pilot, there's a lot we can do. I mentioned before that we can try to be as less noise polluting as possible. We can try to encourage our flight clubs to have modern aircraft that are both quiet and consume less energy, less fuel. We can also see what we can do to speed up electrification of aviation. And to me, it's quite obvious that in just a few years, we will, at every flight club in the world, be able to fly, if we want to, with electric aircraft. Maybe not the long distances that we sometimes have to fly, but certainly for school flying and certainly for local flights. And this will just become better and better. So we should be more quick to introduce the new technologies. And I know that there is a certain resistance in the community. It's a quite traditional and conservative community. But that should not stop us from embracing new technologies. When it comes to navigation, today we have in our hands the best navigational techniques and that we can even think about. So we can plan our journeys with very great detail, also to save fuel, of course. And then we should also be able to work together with the fuel industry, with manufacturers, to push them to deliver to us what we need to fly more sustainable. So I would see more cooperation between the private pilot community with the general aviation manufacturers and the fuel industry to speed up the transition. Well, since I know that I'm addressing in particular the private pilot community, but I'm sure that there's a lot of professional pilots as well in the group. I first of all would like to congratulate the Green Pilot platform movement as a very good initiative to show that we can make a difference if we start looking into the problem in a different way and look for solutions instead. So I'm very proud to be a green pilot, and I hope that we have no other colors on pilots in the future than green. But when it comes to what we can do, and one final word maybe, is that we should also understand that we are all communicators. We are all part we should be part at least, of the movement to turn into the right direction. And if we have this saying, each one teach one, then let's say the green pilot movement would quickly be able to grow into other domains as well. And maybe why not the green pilot becoming joining hands with green air traffic controllers and green aircraft mechanics, for example. We need to embrace the ones who are standing next to us and that are part of the solution, so that they feel that they are part of the solution rather than the problem. And then, as I'm going back now to the private pilot community and the local flight clubs everywhere in Europe and elsewhere, start small but think big. Small is, I think, completely necessary. So see what we can do around the flight clubs, around the airports, on reducing our noise emissions, our fuel consumption, and invite the people around the airports and maybe the politicians to see what you are doing, if you are doing something, which I hope. And also buy that new aircraft instead of waiting. I don't think there's a big financial risk, because I'm pretty sure that aviation will prosper, and certainly small aviation as well. So do invest in the future instead of clinging on to old technologies to every price. So that would be my final message.